My belief, however, is that the coronavirus is not the biggest reason why people are feeling so terrified. Instead, I think that the biggest reason is the massive amount of change that has occurred in the 20th and 21st century. Knowledge is doubling every few years instead of once every 100 years. And that leaves people disorganized, um, confused, and it's hard to keep up. If you take that sort of change that occurs, people feel like their foundation is leaving them. To add on to that, the whole idea of globalization, where the time periods, how long it takes for something to occur, is has shrunk tremendously. People can fly to a place within a few hours that would have taken them months to get there before. So, although there has been fear about that globalization and disruption that has caused problems in people's lives, both economically and socially, there is really no stopping globalization. In this country, we've had a very half hearted attempt to do so, to roll back the times to the 1950s, to become isolationist again, to keep out anyone who looks different than we might look. But bugs can get here no matter what. And that's what's happened with the virus. You cannot stop globalization. What you could do is help ameliorate the disruptions that have occurred because of it, to help people retool, to make common sense decisions rather than fighting each other. And that's another thing that happens when there's so much change so quickly is people either come together and help each other out to make a change against a common issue, or they fight each other. And in this country, we've chosen to fight each other uh, over the last few decades. And I think that part of the reason for that is people have lost their trust, people have lost their bearings. Ever since uh, John Kennedy was killed and all the questions surrounding that, the other assassinations that have happened, the Watergate incidents that have tended to undermine people's trust in their leaders. Um, there's very few leaders that I can remember on either side of the aisle who have not lied to the American people and often stolen. And that has eroded trust. The 9/11, I think, was the capstone. It brought people together, very, very short lived. And then people fought amongst themselves, and again for a feeling of being out of control. So we have become splintered in this country. And I think that to varying degrees that has happened worldwide. When that occurs, people feel like there's nothing to hold on to anymore. And in my opinion, when the coronavirus came, that was just a final assault. And people have overreacted tremendously to that and reacted in very foolish ways. So we're attacking the coronavirus by buying toilet paper. That'll do it. That'll help us all, and it will save us if we just get all the toilet paper. Um, Unfortunately, fear doesn't go away by that kind of hoarding. But what's interesting about most sicknesses is that there's some rhyme or reason for why symptoms develop. Um, Very often, it's a wake up call for the host to let them know that what they've been doing with their life, the way they've been running their life, has backfired. And what I'm hoping is a couple of things. That, first of all, the virus can be contained without too much disruption, but that possibly people will essentially realize that the way they've been running their lives has been self destructive, that possibly people will stop beating each other up and instead realize that uh, both sides have something to say, and that usually truth lies somewhere in the middle, and that cooperation is a lot more effective than unbridled competition. At least that's my hope. Um, and Certainly the theory of isolation and nationalism has proven to be hollow because it has made us more vulnerable rather than less vulnerable. So hopefully the virus will be contained soon, and people can figure out that often the best ways to deal with something is not to try to get control where there is no control, but rather to let go and trust and work together, which is often where real control comes from.